What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. So, you guys know it's been a really crazy few days in Bitcoin, massive pump, and I gotta be honest with you, I thought it was time to, pull out the big guns, bring out the experts. So, what's going on, Krown? How are you?
Hey, what's up, K-Dub? Good to be back here. Good to be back with the Crypto Zombie family, man. Met a lot of really cool people from the last time, so again, much pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much. In fact, I've sent so many of my subscribers now watch you that they're like, why do you even do TA, K-Dub? We don't need it. We just go watch Krown now. I'm like, hey man, what do you want me to do? So, but I mean, we do very basic on the channel. We just look at kind of resistance, support type things. Your favorite, right? Triangles. So
hey, there you go. There you go. Keep it simple.
Yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, dude, I mean, I gotta ask you, were you expecting this? Like,
was I expecting this? No, I was not, man. So, the way that I do technical analysis and more importantly, the way that I do trading is I always go with the former trend until told otherwise. And right now we're in the initial stages of being perhaps told otherwise. So we can go into the chart soon, but basically, when it comes down to it, the lower time frames, everything below a daily, the play has been for the last month and a half to be long. That's been quite clear. But when we look at the higher time frames, the whole story still seems to be a little bit in question. So we can actually go into the charts right now, and we start going through this. But let me make sure that I share the right screen. There we go. Oh, there's my beautiful Bitcoins. Bitcoin going for a tear right now, in fact. And the first thing that I noticed about this chart, whoops, hidden all the wrong things.
Oh, we're at 5103 now? Nice.
Yeah, 5104 actually on BitMexco. And Bitcoin has done everything that I look for on the lower time frames to give the initial signal that the trend might be changing. What we were looking at last time I was on here was actually, let's go over here to Bitstamp. There we go. And basically the 200 exponential, this purple moving average right here, which is my general guide for where we kind of are in the market phase, has actually been taken out. This is something that we were living under for 5 months. And actually, while it's not been confirmed, it looks extremely likely that we're going to close above it. That's all the way down at 4,100 to give you an idea, which we've been stuck below, again, for the last 5 months. Not only that, but the daily 200 simple and 200 exponential, which are the two moving averages that I'm pointing at right now, are also a general guide for, overall medium-term trend length. And we are actually living above it. And we closed our first candlestick above it for the first time since March of 2018. So this is something that we haven't done in over a year. This is the initial stages of perhaps, again, telling us that something's new is going on. However, I always want to, take a step back and fade my own expectations, because when we look at the higher time frames, that's when this picture becomes a little bit more complicated. And right now, as you can see, we're actually getting damn close, or we've actually, realistically hit this blue moving average right here. That is a 377 on the daily, which is very important to me for, longer term trend, as opposed to the 200, which, about a year's worth of trend essentially. And right now we are still living below it. We've gone rejected by it by a couple times yesterday and today, both selling off from this 5,200 area right here. That is important, because that would be the next sort of gatekeeper that I look towards. And you're going to notice that this area has severe confluences with all of the next time frames that I go to. We're going to go to a two-day time frame right now, which we are right at the 200 exponential, which, in my opinion, the 2-day time frame gets actually price action better in Bitcoin land, because it doesn't trade, it trades on the weekends, but we now have we now have CMEs, so there's more institutional, more legitimate ways of doing this. So most of the action happens, on the 5 days.
Absolutely.
Right.
So actually, real quick, could you just explain to everybody on the channel, what is it that you prefer to use the exponentials over the traditional moving averages? Because we usually just look at the regular MAs. We looked at like the 200 weekly and stuff like that. So what's the advantage of that?
So the exponentials I use a lot more for trading. The simples I use a lot more for, what was that? Oh, this Telegram. There we go. Let me get off that screen over there. Okay, cool. So yes, the simples are useful, and I do use the big ones. I use the 200 and actually use also a 10. And they do have some merit, but for the most part, I want to be looking at the exponentials. The reason for that is because the exponentials put more weight on recent price action, so they're going to be more reactive. And coming out of this whole mess, they're going to be more difficult to overtake, essentially. And they'll be a little bit more of a leading indicator to tell us when things are actually changed around, as opposed to a simple. Don't get it wrong, though. It's not that the simples aren't important. They're just used for a little bit different things. So I use the exponentials to give me that initial, that initial signal. And then the simples, well, I usually just only pay attention to the 200, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
Anyways, as we move on over here to the 2-day, we're right at this major resistance right here, the 200 exponential, right at 5,200, that same number. Go over to the 3-day, we're right at, well, we need to go over to Bitstamp. We're right at, we're hanging around right in this kind of zone right here. A lot of the times you will see pressure applied right around that 89. So we're kind of stuck in purgatory right now. More importantly, we move on to the weekly, which this is where it gets a little bit more convoluted, because now we have this green 50 exponential crossing the downside of this cyan 89 exponential, which that is a lower period crossing to the downside of a higher period. And just intuitively speaking, you can judge that as the overall trend getting stronger and stronger to the downside. And a lot of the times when you see these crosses happen, you'd see a test coming into it, and the reaction off the test is going to be insightful onto which way that this one actually wants to break. So if we do see a major rejection here, that's going to be a very, 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 very important marker that perhaps the lows are not in. If we do see this area taken out, that's the next big step. And as far as I'm concerned, I would switch to bullish after that. And I mean, I am a long-term Bitcoin bull. This also have great confluence with the monthly as well, which is of the utmost importance for me. For when I was a professional trader on the floor of New York Stock Exchange ARCA, I would use the monthly 20-minute exponential, this yellow moving average, to judge if an equity was generally bullish or generally bearish. If we're above it, generally bullish; below it, generally bearish. You'll notice that we've been living below it since November of last year. It's been about half a year now almost, and we have the same sort of occurrence that we see on the 3-day. Sorry, on the weekly up. I apologize for that. But we have a 10 simple, this red moving average right here, crossing the downside of the yellow 21. Again, a lower period crossing the downside of a higher, which does suggest that the trend is getting ground down. So it is so damn important how this next monthly closes. If we close above the 21, above that 5,200 level, I don't really have a reason to be bearish after that. You'll notice in 2014, it actually got that mark cycle perfect. Once we lost the 21, it was a straight shot down. Once we regained it right over here, it actually timed you, perhaps I would argue, the best trade. I mean, right here at $300, and you get all of the momentum going for the next 3 years at 20,000. It's beautiful, man. It can be that simple. And, really, when you boil it down to the higher timeframes, it really does help to see things in that sort of like less complex and more simple way.
So right now everything's kind of just hanging on that for you because I mean the last
Right.
time I had you on the channel, I mean we were talking about like 1260 as a potential low. I mean, is that even still in the cards at this point, or is that just forget about it?
So it's always in the cards as long as we're below all of these critical areas. That will still be in the cards. However, right now, it's not something that I'd be looking forward to happen like this month, even next month or the month after that. It's not happening anytime soon. I suppose my main message of a stream like this, last time I wanted to be very positive. This time I wanted to be very apprehensive, because until these levels are, until these levels are actually confirmed above, I would be on the more, on the more careful side of price action. For right now, I did have a long going all the way from about 39 to 49. I'm actually flat right now because I don't really want to risk anything else until we actually confirm this level. If we can do that, hey, all is good. I'm happy to jump back in. Yeah, you don't get the whole move, but that's okay. That's trading. Anyways, of course, the most important way, this is going to be the super traditional way of doing it, but like I said, I think you're going to know beforehand, is if Bitcoin gets back above this 6,000 level right here, the level that we spent, about a year going sideways at. However, another thing onto the camp of being a little bit cautious right now is an indicator that has never, not once, been wrong. And it's actually called all of the major tops and all the major lows for Bitcoin in the history of Bitcoin. And that right now is actually calling, we'll bring it up. It's the MVT, and it's actually calling a top. Which is very concerning. Is it calling a top? Hey, why isn't it was just red a second ago? That's so strange. That's so wait, what's going on over here? This was literally, do I have the right one on? I literally just did a stream, and actually it was right there. So, maybe it just got some information.
Just while you're trying to figure this out, what do you think about the whole speculation about, the whole that the whale that bought 20,000 worth of Bitcoin on exchanges purposefully just to cause some slippage, because there's this big thing like, oh, they've been buying OTC, so now they're trying to force the slippage onto the books. Is that, what do you think?
I mean, people always want to tell stories with price action. At the end of the day, man, we know one thing. There is a severe imbalance between buyers and sellers, and I know that that's not like a sexy story to tell, man, but that's the damn truth. When it comes down to it, man, yeah, did someone essentially fat finger 20?
Well, I mean, do you think that they could have potentially done it intentionally because they wanted to kind of get the ball? Like maybe they've been accumulating OTC in the background.
Ah,
and
okay. I
they were
see what
kind
you're
of like,
saying.
let me get this thing going. I mean, do you think that's
If
something, a tactic they could use, or?
if this is going to be the ultimate low, then absolutely yes, that would be the exact tactic. You don't want to give people a second chance to buy. That is actually exactly what would be happening, 100%. But that's, again, we have to confirm that on the higher time frames first. So it's still going to be a little bit, we're so damn close, man. And believe me, man, this is what I do for a living, man. My life becomes so much easier when Bitcoin's just in a bull market. So I would love this just as much as anyone, but like I said, I have to be apprehensive as a trader. When I look at the MBT signal, we were signaling a red just earlier today. However, it has gone down a little bit. I'm going to guess that there's new information in this with that last move. But basically, this indicator, if you're not familiar with it, is actually a fundamental indicator, kind of divorced from all of the price, volume, and time indicators that I typically look at. And it represents the network value divided by the daily transaction value, which, as I said before, each and every time that signaled red, major market cycle top. Each and every time that signaled green, goodbye. Goodbye, like as in, it's a damn goodbye. Just back testing it right here, beautifully done. And as you can see right now, we are damn close, and we were signaling red earlier today. It is damn close to getting back into that range. It's right around the 140-ish area. We are actually right there, 140 and a half. So this thing is getting very mature. And like I said, hasn't been wrong in the history of Bitcoin. But with that said, does that mean that I just, go out and hit the red button right now? Absolutely not. I mean, look at the past history of this. This thing has stayed here for, the last time it was here above 6,000, it stayed there for, Jesus Christ, man, about 6 months. The time before that, it spent about a month in this 20,000 area right here. Times before that, about a couple months right over here, about a month over here, and a month over here. So we're just in like the first initial stages of this, which again, very, very young, but it is saying be cautious in this area. Not only that, but I'll bring you over here to the Bitcoin network momentum, which again, another kind of fundamental indicator, which has been a good leading indicator as well. And shout out to the maker of this, Willy Woo, absolutely phenomenal. And
I follow him actually. If he's one of the guys
he's great,
I
man.
listen to.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Very unique views and something that, just you don't really see anyone else really talking about. Anyways, as far as this indicator is concerned, this one has been damn good at being a leading indicator into the actual breakout of past prior bear markets. You see this area being put in right here. This kind of support trend line holding up that whole consolidation, sorry, not the whole consolidation, but the whole bull run going from, what is this, like 2012 to 2013, essentially. Well, once we break the support trend line of that is the start of your bear market. It gets broken right here. Price action goes from, wherever it was in early 2014, February, all the way down. And then you'll notice it puts in lows when it starts to get momentum up, just like it got momentum up over here, getting momentum up right over here, puts in the lows. And then once it gets back above this dotted trend line right here, kind of holding up that past prior market cycle, that's when it calls the beginning of the next bull cycle. Very important. So after that, that would have timed you to buy at $300 over to $20,000 as well. And we put another support trend line for this next whole rally right over here, gets broken in early 2018. And right now we are still living well below this. So to me, that is still another cautious warning signal saying, hey, wait until it gets fully confirmed. Again, as a trader, I know that there's some more longer term minded people out there. Everyone has different perspectives. Obviously, we all come from different walks of lives. But for myself as a trader, still not quite there. Doesn't mean that it can't happen, but want to make sure that it's confirmed. Then we'll bring it over to another chart, just really quick, last one, I promise. And in this guy right over here is the Bitcoin price models. You'll notice in the past on the major lows for Bitcoin's history, we see all of these, I guess they're moving averages, but it's actually just more fundamental indicators, market, all to do with market cap, and then the MBT signal as well, and then the delta cap, average cap, top cap. Okay, don't need to explain them all to get it, but basically when they all converge on each other, that is where the major market cycle lows have been called in the past as well. You see this one over here, you see this one over here, you see this one over here. And right now, in the more current times, we are actually not converging on this area. We're actually kind of diverging in a way, which is a little bit shaky as well. So in this area, I do want to exercise extreme caution. That's kind of the MO of what I'd be saying. If you are long and you bought the breakout of 4,000, I think you did phenomenally well. But these are the times where I'd rather, take in profits, secure them, and then if we get another breakout, then buy into that one. But for myself, again, it's better to be cautious in my experience as a trader. Of course, I understand that some people are just, they're on like a 10-year horizon. It's like, all right, 3,000, 5,000, whatever. It's going to 50,000.
It can be difficult, especially with Bitcoin when you're not looking at the chart 24/7. I mean, I'll stop to like make myself a sandwich and come back, and Bitcoin like fell like 20%. Like, what's going on? Like, So
yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely. And that's the whole thing with it is it moves fast, man. And so, I always like to say this: as a trader, you don't need to catch every move, and don't beat yourself. I see a lot of people beating themselves up if they miss a move. At the end of the day, if and when this thing actually does confirm a bull market, which I strongly believe it will, as I am a long-term believer, it's less important to be perfect and more important to just be on the course. Like I said, at that point, my life becomes a lot easier. Go back to playing video games or something. Whatever it might be.
No confirmed bull run, no stress. Right? Just set it and forget it, basically.
There you go. We do have a few other things to look at, I suppose. We could pull out this guy. Yeah, let's pull out this guy. The Bollinger Bands. I like to refer to them as the Bollinger Bands. These guys have also done something that they haven't done in over a year as well. If you know how to trade the Bollinger Bands, when you get a open and close above the medium band, this kind of skid mark colored moving average right here. It's just 20 simple moving average. That's all it is. And we got our first open and close above this on a weekly time frame. And now we're flirting with the top side band, the upper band, which we haven't done this in a very long time. I mean, that was bull run time in 2017, essentially. Not only that, but just opening and closing above the 20 simple, quite impressive as well, as we haven't done that since January 2018. We had a couple of closes above, but that's not the right way to be using it. This is looking actually quite good. Not only that, but I'll bring it over here to our RSI, and this is something I was really paying a great amount of attention to. And actually, we had a nice trend line forming, or sorry, not a nice trend line forming, but we formed a nice trend line during the consolidation above 6,000 from July to October. Then broke down in November, and that was our current lows of about 3,000. And this trend line has actually been, very likely to be confirmed above. Technically, we need to wait until the end of the week, but I would have a hard time imagining that this is going to come back down unless we have some just atrocious news, like Donald Trump comes out and says, if you have Bitcoin, you're going to jail or something like that. Probably not going to happen.
Yeah, that would not be good.
Yeah, exactly. And now we're hitting levels on the RSI that we haven't seen since January 2018. So we're seeing the confluence on all of the lower time frames between all different sorts of oscillators, which I do like. And those are the initial signals that can carry on over into the higher time frames. But still, the higher time frame is still not quite there. So these are, when we talk about these are ideas that can, take months and months and months. Perhaps even a year or two. It's a long time. So I don't want to make this sound like, any of this is happening tomorrow or the next day or anything like that. But I do want to make it sound like, know these sorts of levels and have a plan. That's it's always good to have a plan.
It's just incredible though, when you look at how many months just basically got completely wiped away in that movement.
Yeah.
It's funny because it can go down, but it can also go up as well. Usually with a move this intense, I would assume there would be a sell-off, but we did already see that sell-off, and they seem to have just said, screw it, and we're going up more. You know what I mean? So it's tough for me, especially when the chart just looks like this, like just go straight up.
Yeah.
How do you even analyze something like that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so going back down to the lower timeframes, if you did want to talk about more recent price action, I would say that, approaching all these major moving averages in this range, as we see kind of, our consolidation oscillators get a little bit overdone. Stokes right over there, we see the RSI get into levels that on the daily we haven't seen since December 2017 when Bitcoin was at 20,000. A lot of the time, my bet would be on a pullback. We're seeing divergences on the lower timeframes as well in this current area, even though it's kind of like stair-stepping its way higher. But 4-hour bearish divergence usually does play. So overall, I'd say if you are more of a short-term time trader or you're just looking at this on a shorter-term time frame, equally as valid. The range that be is about 5,200 to the upside and 4,600 to the downside. There's really not much to be done in there. You kind of said it perfectly, man. When you have just a straight up candlestick, The only thing to really do is just, is just kind of watch for a little bit if you didn't get into it. I did get a position at about 39.30 right over here, but I'm just kind of letting that roll right now. And pretty much that position is all covered and accounted for. So I'm not taking my chances at a major resistance like this. I'd rather lock it in. And you can always add in, if we take it out, which is actually looking like it might want to happen right now. 51.50. Hey, if we actually can view this live, this would be amazing, man. Holy moly. Looking good right now. Still need to close above this area. Looking very powerful, Bitcoin. Anyways, so with that said, I think, I don't know, what else was I going to say? Man,
I mean, I guess, like, long story short, like, what is your, like, where do you see this thing going? Are you just like literally just waiting right now for confirmations? You're just waiting. You're just seeing what it's going to do because we're kind of like in no man's land, in your opinion, or how do you feel?
Yeah, so I mean, right now, if you're talking about low to medium time frame, obviously more bullish. But I would be looking for a pullback over the next few days or week or so. I would like to see another test of the 200 exponential and 200 simple right over here at 4,600. If that provides a good response, if that gets picked up and bought up very fast, this is very likely to break this to the upside. If if we see this area break 4,600, that is an incredibly important pivot now. Then the picture gets a lot more convoluted, and we're probably going to start filling out the lower 4,000s a lot more. But for right now, it would imply more bullish nature. It would imply more bullish posturing. But like I said, still has to confirm above this area. If we could do this on a daily, if we could actually close a daily above this about 5,200 level, you could say, then realistically speaking, the next sort of lower time frame to medium time frame trade I'd be looking at is another run towards 5,600. I just don't see anything stopping you from 5,600. This is incredibly good. This is breakout volume right here. That is beautiful. And more importantly, we should actually talk about Litecoin, because Litecoin.
Oh my goodness, Litecoin. I actually put a video out the other day where I was actually questioning, is Litecoin actually leading the markets?
Oh, Litecoin is definitely
because
leading.
If you look at it, it's like Litecoin moves and then Bitcoin copies it like a few like a week later. Bitcoin sort of just does what Litecoin had done, right? So
absolutely, man, absolutely. I mean, looking at this chart right here, I've been saying this since February, that Litecoin is the best argument for the bear market being over. I mean, I'm not bearish on Litecoin, and I haven't been bearish on Litecoin for about a couple of weeks now. It looks like we have a golden cross on the daily, and we're above all major movement averages. That is my cue to just kind of step aside. I don't hold any Litecoin or anything like that, but hey, if I did,
I actually don't hold any Litecoin right now either.
Oh,
I kind of
really?
wish I did. I have a ton of Bitcoin.
It ain't too bad, man.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? You can't get them all, you know.
This is yes, it's like Pokemon.
Oh yeah.
Here's the thing, man. Litecoin is exactly what I want to see on a major market cycle low. You see this. Whoops, I think we should probably take this back off again. But you see this increasing volume from the current low. That's beautiful. I mean, you see higher volume on this breakout than you did on what brought us down below the 30 mark right over here. That's exactly what I want to see. When I go over to the weekly looks damn. I mean, the weekly's been good ever since took out 45.5. Litecoin has been really putting the market in their backpack and carrying it to the top. Like I said, I can talk about upwards targets, but there's, it's not really that important, because like I said, for the last, ever since we got this golden cross over here, I'm just bullish on it. There's nothing more to do, man. Just let the work be done for you. This is kind of what I'm talking about. I mean, this is
But it is scary though. I mean, like, you don't, like, most people, especially retail and regular investors, would be horrified to hop in at that point.
Yeah.
Hopping right in now at the 95.83. I mean, even though we know that it's probably going to still keep going, that's the place they tell you do not buy.
Right.
You do not buy the top,
right.
But honestly, man, recently with these altcoin pumps, I've seen coins pumping like 20%, and I hold off. Like, I'm not going in that one, and then it goes another 20%. And it's just like defying the laws, man. It's just crazy.
There is a great saying by the author of Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. Great book if you want to check it out. It's about a guy who was in like the early 1920s during kind of the essentially the what's it called, like the golden era right around there, and then leading into the Depression. And he has seen it all, and he has one great quote. He was a trader, obviously, and he has one great quote. He says, A stock is never too high to buy and it's never too low to sell. And man, here's the thing. When you see momentum like this, that is, that's actually, as a trader, that's a safe play. As an investor, yeah, I mean, you could probably get a better price if you're looking at, if you're looking at a longer term horizon. You're probably going to get a pullback at some point down, over to a little bit below $80, maybe 75, 77 and a half, something like that. But overall, this is what if I was seeing this on Bitcoin, I'd say, oh, I'm all in. There's no reason not to be. This is, everything picture perfect of what I want to see. And as you said before, Litecoin, seems to be leading this market. So do we see Bitcoin follow through? Could this be the initial warning that Bitcoin's about to just blow its top? Perhaps again, I want to represent all sides equally because they deserve their due diligence. So I don't want to make it sound like it's too one-sided with the bear side. I don't want to make it sound like it's too one-sided with the bull side. Both sides have their merits right now. Although I would still be cautious on Bitcoin. If I'm just looking at Litecoin, this is phenomenal.
I wanted to ask you a question. I wanted to ask you what your thoughts are on, I hear a lot of people talking about the wash trading that goes on and all that, because technically we put in the most volume I believe we've ever done, even in the all-time highs. If you go to the, it's the total on TradingView, it's crypto cap total. I don't know how to get, I can show you how to get to it at another time.
Yeah, I got you.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah. It's right over here.
Yeah. Look at that volume, man.
Holy moly.
I mean, what do you think of that? Is that...
I mean, that's what you'd want to see. My problem with this is it's coming from, I'm guessing it's coming from CoinMarketCap, which does not, they don't do it right. There was a big expose. There was a big expose the other day, I think in the Wall Street Journal or maybe Barron's, talking about how they kind of fake their volume and whatnot. So they don't really do their due diligence. So I'm not sure if that's where this volume read is coming from. But if that is true, then this would be picture perfect. But I would express my doubts just going back in time. I'm not sure. Yeah, it doesn't really go back that far. So it's kind of,
unfortunately, that's what sucks when you're trying to use some of these indicators. You got to go to things like BLX, and then BLX doesn't update fast enough. So it's like, it's like, man. I can only show you like what happened yesterday.
Right. About it. Yeah, man, looking at this, I mean, if this is exactly the way that it's presented to, it to be, that's what I'd look for, man. That's what I'd look for on a major market cycle low. But, again, I don't want to make it sound like I do think the lows are in until that confirmation happens. Again, as a trader, have to be agnostic in this range.
It would be pretty devastating though, man, if we were to go sub 3K again, man. I mean, that would just, I wouldn't even know what to, I might just stop making videos. I don't know. No, I wouldn't do that. But
it's so brutal, man. It's so brutal. I totally understand you, man, because not only that, but, with these rallies, I actually see like an increased interest in just cryptocurrencies in general, man. It's very, it's cool to see new people in here. People hear about the headlines on TV and then they come on YouTube, check it out. And it's good for the space, man.
Yeah. Google Trends. Bitcoin is in the top 10 today. Top
10, no way.
Top 10 for Google Trends. And it's also, it's trending higher in the US and pretty much globally. Like you'll see it actually kind of looks like the chart a little bit, which is
oh really?
Yeah. So so that's a good thing. I mean, I know you're very technical. I'm technical very mildly, but me, it's always just been fundamentals. And I know that doesn't really matter necessarily, but I feel like, when you start getting those phone calls again from your friends from high school, like, hey man, what's up? You still doing the Bitcoin thing? It's like, yeah, why? What's going on? They're like, oh, nothing, just saw like 10 articles on it today. So and, now you're seeing it. So like I had a friend that just, sent me a text like, yo, did you see this? I'm like, dude, of course I saw it. Like, that was the first thing I saw when I woke up. But I think like now when you start to hear like your friends and family calling you back up, asking you, I feel like that's kind of like you got to take that for what it is, even though I know it's not a technical thing. Yeah. But like seeing that.
No, it matters though. It does matter. And that was a great indication at the end of 2017, man. All my friends were hitting me up. And the funny thing is, and tell me if you agree with this, but the funny thing is they didn't want to know about Bitcoin. They didn't want to know about Litecoin, Ethereum, any of those. They wanted to know about Ripple. That was on everyone's minds, man. Ripple was the one. How do I buy Ripple? Where can I get it?
Was like really pushing Ripple though. So
man. Brian Kelly gets on there and he's telling people to not puke in the morning when they see a 50% drop down. Don't sell your bags. And here's how to make an account on Poloniex of all places and buy Ripple. Just all there documented for the world to see. Just beautiful, man. You gotta fucking.
He was calling for like the 6K mark today, pushing towards it. But you know, a lot of these guys that you get, it's fun. I mean, I think it's fun. Like, let me get off topic for a second. I want to just say something. It's kind of been on my mind. You know, I hear a lot of people in the space that get pissed off about like the moon Lambo guys. Everyone's like saying like to the moon, right? But like in reality, don't you kind of like need that like hype speculation in a sense? Like, isn't that a good thing? I mean, if more people, you know what, if somebody gets involved, I don't know. What do you think? Because in one hand, it's like, so when it comes to the actual tech for Bitcoin, I think that people need to understand what it is, or else you'll get pissed. But at the same time, like, look at Google Trends are up. Why? Price. It's not because of tech. No one's just Googled Bitcoin because the tech got real good and Lightning Network's up. You know, it's like, no, it jumped freaking 15-20%. Now everybody's interested. So
that is a little bit of, it's a concerning thing. It's a double-edged sword, right? Because it's a concerning thing because people are like, no one's hitting me up and saying, hey man, I just bought Doggy Coin because I'm going to do this with it. It's like, no, I'm going to sell it higher is what I'm going to do with it. That's typically what people want. So at some point, really what we want to see is some sort of like S curve of adoption where it has a little bit more of a gradual up, and over time, you know, it kind of builds itself in. And we don't get like these super parabolic moves where, you know, it's kind of like that extreme emotional driven type thing. So the facet that you're talking about is more along those lines, which, hey man, we can have another parabolic top again, but we're going to have to do another parabolic drop just like the last 3 times. So, you know, it's one of those things, man. It's a lot more healthy for an asset to have one of those S curves, which is a little bit more gradual. And at the end of the day, I mean, those are really put in by very long-term accumulations by massive institutions with extremely deep pockets. So it doesn't even matter what those moon boys say because they're not really the ones moving the market.
I mean, you said that it's like, would you say piss in a bucket on Jupiter? I don't know what you said. Basically, retail money's useless. Okay, it's
hard to argue against, man. You know, because I've seen it on the other side, man. When I was working on the floor of New York Stock Exchange, ARCA, we'd be doing business with the institutions, and the institutions would come in and they'd want to do orders that were just a magnitude that is hard to comprehend. I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars daily. You know, all day, all the time. So it's hard to imagine that you know, some retailer is putting together a few $100 or even a few thousand, even a few $100,000. It doesn't do all that much, man.
It might on these lower caps though. You know, I mean, you can move these.
Oh yeah.
All day. I mean, dude, I'm not even gonna lie. I've moved the market. I've bought a shit.
Oh yeah.
Like now I'm a lot smarter with it. But when I first got in, I didn't really I wasn't like understanding like how like order books and stuff work. So I just like bought. I bought the whole thing up and like
market it, baby.
This is what happens. You see the chart and it just goes like this. There's a wick, and then it goes right back down to the same price, and now I'm at a loss. I was like,
oh, absolutely, man, absolutely, and that's a really scary thing, you know. And that's a really scary thing with anything outside of like, you know, I would say more prominent coins. Take that as you will, but if you go down into the dregs on CoinMarketCap, you know, if you start hitting page 2, that's where it gets a little bit crazy, man, because the volume on those.
But the problem is
like you can.
There's not
get out though.
There's not enough liquidity for the bigger players, you know, and I've even seen that myself. And dude, I'm not even like a whale, like anything.
Oh man!
But I mean, even just me going in, like these smaller cap cryptos, you know, they're doing like $100, $200, $500 at a time. Right. I mean, you're trying to buy up. You better have a long-term plan on this thing if you're going to buy it up. It's
scary, man. It's very scary. I don't play them for that reason, and you know, I do also know that there is some maybe less than altruistic behavior going on in exchanges like Binance. But
they're centralized, though. I mean, like, I feel like you kind of give that power. I mean, you could sit here and argue all day over it.
In a way, yeah.
You can use
absolutely.
a decentralized exchange, but then we run into the liquidity issue even more. So it's tough, you know.
Right. The problem with what I've heard from some of my friends who work in actual quant firms in Chicago is they say Binance does. I don't know if I should say this publicly, but they have done some shady dealings to get those coins on. You know, I'll put it this way. There's a reason why there's an exorbitant listing fee for those. I mean, obviously it makes sense because, you know, you want to pay the exchange back. Most exchanges just make their money by transaction fees, as you know, they're pretty lucrative. But
they
have an
extra buying or selling. They don't care if the price is up or down. So
Actually, before I forget, I do want to share one more thing, because this is more important. Talking about, sorry, not more important than what we were talking about, but more important to kind of interlay with what we were talking about before. And essentially, I really need to get this out, because as long as, from a long-term perspective, just like I have to be agnostic with the upside, I do have to be agnostic with the downside. As long as Bitcoin is above the 200 simple moving average on the weekly, I don't think it's not that I don't think about, but I don't position trades for like a major down movement. Because last time I was on here, you were right. We were talking about I think 2,300 to 2,600 was my main area that I'm looking at. You can come up with lower targets. I'm not really of that camp. I don't really think Bitcoin's going to go.
I think we were talking about like. I mean, we might even talk about Tyler Jenk's hyperwave theory, where he's like, it's got to go down to 1,000 or something. I mean, are you a hyperwave guy? Do you?
He actually just asked me to be on his channel, man. I can't say that I'm a hyperwave guy because I haven't looked into it. I don't know too much about it. I can say this though, man. Anyone who says that something has to happen to that degree, where I can see that there's obvious supports above that area, I don't really believe that can be. It's just not the right way to come through it as a trader. As an analyst, sure, but you don't have accountability as an analyst, right? You don't take the loss if you're wrong.
I'll tell you, as an onlooker, I don't want to believe that. So I don't know much about the actual factors that'll make it happen. I wouldn't mind a pullback to accumulate, but I don't want a freaking $1,200 Bitcoin.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. That would be pretty brutal. And you got to think about it long term at that point. Like, people are going to get too wrecked if that happens. In my opinion.
That might be some serious depression, man.
Right. So yeah,
I guess giving out a lot of free T-shirts that week. That's what I do, man. Every time like the
hey, those are some awesome T-shirts, though, man.
I don't know what else to do. So,
hey, man, you got some great graphics on those, man. I really like them. So yeah, man, my main point is, hey, as long as Bitcoin's above that 200 weekly, which is currently hovering around 3,500. There's, from a technical analysis standpoint, there's no reason to be looking at like major downside targets and represented trades like that. I can only say that we have major resistances in this area, and I'd be careful until it's confirmed, for more upside. So again, just want to come from that, agnostic sphere. So of course, we talk, we covered the whole damn gambit now. But yeah, man, as far as something like hyperwave, if Bitcoin goes down to 1,000, man, you're going to have a hard time convincing people that this thing is ever going to be legit. I mean, if you're going to have if we're building up the infrastructure for ETFs, which tells me that it's going to be legitimate from an institutional perspective, as we already have. I mean, we're at a future, so that's pretty damn good.
There were some guidelines that just got put out this morning, and they texted me, and I missed it. It just came out, and as I put my video out, I found out about it. So.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And you know what? There's something very interesting about that, because as they start to do this, it kind of unravels the path for perhaps an ETF. Again, I'm not insinuating that this is happening tomorrow or the next day. It's probably still months and months, maybe sometime around the end of the year is more appropriate to be speaking about. But I do see things in the charts that actually suggest something like that, because typically I look at a different investment vehicle called GBDC, which trades OTC. So it's a little bit more of a traditional way of getting into Bitcoin, a little bit more of a legitimate way, instead of going on to like BitMexico and making an account there and signing over your keys to Arthur. And that asset has actually started to lose its hold on Bitcoin. It used to lead spot prices. Now it does not. It's actually been following. And to me, that tells me that the use case for that is diminishing. And what substitute the use case for that? Actually an ETF.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, we like I said, I got to read it. I didn't even have a chance to look at all the stuff that's been going on.
Yeah.
But yeah. Hey, did you see avocado prices have followed Bitcoin recently? They're up like 35%.
Oh, man.
And people were laughing. They were overlapping it like, the conspiracy.
Oh, really? That trip to Chipotle is going to get a lot more expensive.
You got to have some fun over here. But man,
oh hell yeah, man!
Thank you so much for coming on the channel. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man.
It was a great time. And yeah, man, anybody that's watching right now, if you're not subscribed to Krown, what are you waiting for? Like, this guy is everything that you don't get from me. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, dude, I mean, is there anything you kind of think we should, but we covered a lot, but do you want to like leave everyone? Because I don't know the next time you'll be back on. Is there anything specifically?
Yeah. So I suppose if you wanted to narrow down my views, it would be saying this: we are damn close. I want to see 5,200 taken out on a monthly basis. If that happens, I don't really have a reason to be bearish. However, until that happens, I'd still be a little bit, a little bit apprehensive here. I've closed most of my long positions at this area, and I'm kind of just content with waiting right now. I would not be bearish on the medium time frames until Bitcoin gets below 4,600 again, and I would not be long-term bearish until Bitcoin actually breaks that 200 simple on the weekly, which is currently around 3,500, I believe. Anyways, man, it's been such a pleasure speaking with you, man. Again, it's K-Dub is super cool. Always a pleasure being here, meeting the crypto zombie nation as well, man. So
yeah, dude, I just send them your way like all the time. Like, I literally feed you subscribers. I just say, go watch Krown. Like seriously, like, because I feel like between you and me, it's like a good kind of combo. Like they come to me for like fundamentals, what's happening in Twitter drama, and then we go.
That's the thing, man. I actually go over to your I go over to your channel to learn about the fundamentals. You and FUD TV both have a great, just very directed look at Bitcoin and all of the news pieces surrounding it. And it really helps round out everything. Because of course, if you are a longer term type person, you do want to pay attention to the fundamentals. You do want to pay attention to the news. It just makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Also, like the thing is most people that are getting into the space, you're not coming in as a person that's like ready to just look at charts and be a trader. I mean, I was surprised when I first got into crypto. I didn't even realize how much time I was going to spend on exchanges. No concept,
It's your life now, baby. If we pulled you
into it, and you don't even expect it. So, there's different learning curves, and I hate when people bash, on people. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, listen, man, everyone was a beginner once. Like, we need to be helping each other. And if somebody makes a mistake, the worst thing you could do is point a finger and laugh at them. Why not? That's why I say join my Telegram. Join the community.
It doesn't help anyone, man. Absolutely. You want to have a positive outlook, because remember, I strongly believe this, man. A rising tide lifts all ships. And that's really what it all comes down to, man.
I think we're gonna end on that. That was a good one.
There's your positive mushroom of the day, baby.
It's gonna be Eric Krown, rising tide lifts all ships.
And that's Litecoin right now.
Like Mrs. Litecoin, by the way. So, all right, dude. Thank you so much. So, guys, to everyone out there that hasn't had a chance to check out Krown yet, please go check this guy out. He's like one of my go-to, guys in the morning. Unfortunately, you tend to do your live streams while I'm working on my video. So like if you notice once in a while, I'll try to like pop in and say what up, but it's like
yeah, man,
I always end up missing them, and I have to watch them afterwards, and then I feel like an idiot when I say something, and then I go back, oh, Krown disagreed with me. No, he disagreed with me. No, so all right, man.
Hey, there's enough room for dissenting opinions. Again, man, massive thank you, man. Thanks for having me on, K-Dub.
Absolutely, dude. So definitely go check out Krown, guys. Thank you so much for everyone that's been liking, subscribing, and commenting. You guys rock. And that is it for today. My name is K-Dub. This is Crypto Zombie. Until next time, stay crypto and peace out.